What is up, fellow humans? Welcome back. Today, I'm going to talk about some of my favorite books that do not fall into horror. These could sort of be called literature or classics. A couple of them are newer, and I consider horror literature, but they're not horror. They're not fantasy. There's one, I think I'm going to do 6 to kind of even it out, because there's one that could be argued it is SF, but I think you could make just as strong an argument that it's not SF as well. Starting up, so top 5-ish favorite non-genre books. Well, these are not necessarily in order, as in this is my first favorite, but there's some of them. So one is The Sun Also Rises. This follows a number of American expats living in Paris, pretty much partying it up and going to Spain for a bullfight. There's a handful of men vying for the affections of Lady Brett Ashley. That's the very surface level synopsis. Hemingway is one of my favorite writers of all time, and I believe this is my favorite novel. I can flip back and forth depending on the last one that I read. I really like Hemingway's short stories as well. But aside from, Hemingway might, depending on who I read last, I might tell you that Hemingway's my favorite writer. But he's right up there with Lovecraft and Robert E. Howard, along with Stephen King and Carl Edward Wagner. So yeah, The Sun Also Rises is either number 1 or number 6, depending on how you look at it. So number 2 would be Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. This is my favorite nonfiction book. It's the only one on this list. I'm not really a self-help guy, but what Meditations is a printing of the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius. Is his personal journal. So these are things that he's saying to himself to remind himself to be a good general, to be a good man. And so I do find reading a passage here or there to be very helpful. But this is not, some dude screaming on YouTube trying to get you to buy his course or anything. These were helpful things that he found for him, and I find them also to be somewhat helpful to me. So yeah, Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. That's our second book. All right, the third book, and the actually the last one that I have a physical copy of. I didn't know this until I started pulling books out for this video. That is The Complete Stories of Flannery O'Connor. Along with Hemingway, she's one of my favorite short story writers. I've mentioned in other places, I believe I've mentioned in a video, but I've definitely talked about it on social media before, that I prefer short stories. I prefer both to read and to write short stories over longer works, and I think Flannery O'Connor was one of the best at it. Now, I do think a couple of these could be classified as horror. In fact, one of these I will do a video on. One of the stories in this book I will do a video on as in my series of best horror short stories. But even the ones that have completely nothing to do with horror, or the ones that are sort of just slice of life Southern Gothic stories, I think they're very well written. I think they're very well told, and she was a master. And so this is the third book, The Complete Short Stories of Flannery O'Connor. That one might be kind of a cheat because it's a compiled book after the author's death, but it's there. This is my video on my list, so I'm going to do it. Number 4. I do not have the actual book, but I have one that is somewhat related. It's by the same author. This is actually the more famous work by the same author. And this author tends to make everyone really angry for some reason. So this is Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand. Now my favorite of her work is The Fountainhead. The Fountainhead deals with Howard Rourke, who is an architect, and he is basically him sort of having very strong opinions on how a building should look, and the big architecture conglomerates do not want buildings like that. They want these big gaudy faux Greek temple looking buildings, and he feels that a building should look exactly like what it is, and it should be functional over style, and that all these lame columns and frescoes and gargoyles and stuff like that is a complete waste of time. That's sort of the very loose synopsis of it, but it's a really compelling book. I do find oh, did I mess up my thing? Hold on. Okay. All right, we're back. I thought I had messed up my microphone. So it's a very loose synopsis. I really like Anne Rine's writing style. I am not a follower of her philosophy. I think there are a lot worse philosophies out there. That is the reason why The Fountainhead does edge out Atlas Shrugged. I like Atlas Shrugged fine, but you can definitely tell if you know a little bit about her personal philosophy that she came up with called objectivism. If you're reading Atlas Shrugged, the goal of Atlas Shrugged is to hammer objectivism into you, and it is to explain what it is. And you know, it ends with how many? I think is it like a 20-page speech by John Galt. He's given over the radio to everybody, and it just keeps going on and on and on. And he's like giving a metaphor, and then he gives another metaphor that it's a different metaphor, but it means the exact same thing he just gave. And also throughout the book, we've got minor versions, shorter versions of this speech by other characters, giving them to Dagny. So as far as a story and enjoying a novel or the work or the writing, The Fountainhead is miles above Atlas Shrugged. The Fountainhead kicks ass. You need to check it out. All right, number 5 is Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky. There's like 18 different ways to pronounce that. That's how I do it. You pronounce it how you want. I don't care. So in Crime and Punishment, obviously it takes place in Russia. I believe in St. Petersburg. But a Russian student, Raskolnikov, he decides that he's going to kill someone. He does. And at least for a while, he gets away with it. And in the getting away with it, he is racked with guilt. His life is ruined, even though he's getting away with this murder. And then he actually comes to feel that, you know, him being discovered and arrested and all that as a good thing, and he accepts his punishment. And so I really like. What have I read of Dostoevsky? I've read Crime and Punishment. I've read The Brothers Karamazov, which is also a huge book, like I just showed you, Atlas Shrugged. Crime and Punishment, The Brothers Karamazov, Notes from the Underground, and The Idiot, along with a few short stories. I don't think he wrote a whole lot. I believe Crime and Punishment is my favorite. Try to keep this under an hour or so without going on a rant. But Crime and Punishment, I first read it. I've read it 2 or 3 times now. I just picked it up at a Books A Million, and at first, you know, it's you can read it very surface level, but even surface level, it's still a worthwhile read. And the more you read it, the more you get out of it. So, number 5, Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky. Bonus number 6 of my non-genre books, of my favorite non-genre books, is by, I actually found out today I don't have a physical copy of it. Maybe I loaned it out. Maybe it's in a box somewhere, but I didn't have it handy. But here are some other books by that author. So number 6 would be Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut. Kurt Vonnegut would be up there with Flannery O'Connor and Hemingway as one of my favorite writers, and my favorite book by him is Slaughterhouse-Five. He does get lumped in with SF a lot, science fiction. This is why, you know, quotes on genre. I don't know, even though there is a bit about Billy Pilgrim coming unstuck in time, and there are aliens in Slaughterhouse-Five. It's not really about either of those things. It's not even... A lot of SF deals with humans dealing with some sort of technology, good or bad. And, you know, the technology changes how it changes how we read the book and how we see the world of the story. And so I do think that you can lump Vonnegut in with the SF, but Slaughterhouse-Five is really him dealing with the firebombing of Dresden during World War II. He was a POW. He was captured by the Nazis. It's more of a war novel, more of an anti-war novel than an SF novel. I love it. I think it's great. But those are my 6 favorite non-horror videos, or non-horror books. Oh, it'd be nice if I could speak. So, real quick before the video ends, I want to remind you that I am a horror writer. Currently, I am regularly posting horror short stories on my Substack. I'll put the link in the description. Please check it out and let me know what you think. And please, if you enjoyed this video, or if you hated this video, please comment below. Let me know. That wraps this one up, and I'll see you in the next one.